Hi, Deborah. Okay, so hold on 1 second. Let me. So I was looking at something while I was passing the time until I went live, and then I'm like, oh gosh, I'm 5 minutes late. Oh, 5 minutes only. So we have some updates on some cases. Make sure I'm in the right live. We have closing arguments coming in the Vallow Daybell case, which will then translate to a verdict watch when that goes to the jury. Hi, easily distracted. Hello, Linda. Hello, Chris Ray. So yeah, we have that, and remind me to tell you also about a new segment we're going to start today, which is about getting healthy, fitness. So I might as well just say it now while I can remember it. Elle wanted to do something with like a partner, so at about, I think, 4th, let me see, maybe 4 my time, Eastern Standard Time, we will be in Zoom walking. So if you want to walk with us in Zoom and you're a member of Patreon, get the number. If you're not in Slack and can't get the number, then you can email for the number, but you can go on the Janae got me this cream. At the beach. This is Velvety Body Cream Citrus Spritz. So we're going to do that. Hi, Teresa. So if anybody would like, yeah, I'm back, Teresa. I'm back. If anybody wants to do that, you can do that with us in Zoom. Okay. So just so you know, and I think it's going to be around 4 o'clock. Luke left for a trip to Washington this morning, and so that's exciting. I get nervous when they travel on a bus or anytime they go away like that, but praying everything goes well and everybody's returned safe and healthy and having a good time. And Jimmy had to drive Luke at like 5:20. At 6:20, I got Ethan to his bus, and that's what we're doing. I'm still unpacking stuff. It's so funny because I overpacked. Let me tell you, I overpacked big time. But when I was there, I couldn't even find some shirts that I had bought for the trip, and I thought, okay, well, they're packed in something, whatever. And they were hanging in the foyer, all on the hangers. This was one of the shirts. Go figure. And, yeah. Crazy. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is that Kouri Richins case, where the realtor had a lot of things in her past that, well, I don't mean in her past, this flip she was doing was this mansion that had a history behind it, and her husband's family, Eric Richins' family, says they think that her husband was going to tell her that he didn't want her to purchase that. Well, she closed on it the day after he died. So, but there were a lot of other things she didn't know about, like that his sister was the beneficiary of his estate because he had suspected her stuff. So we're going to dive a little deeper into that. We're going to look at Brian Kohberger. There's some other things that are coming out about that. Let me see here. So there was blood found on items at his Pullman, Washington apartment, and records were showing that he was banned. Hold on a minute, I've got to clean my glasses here. that he was banned from WSU's campus. So initial analysis showed blood on 2 items that police seized during their search of Brian Kohberger's Pullman, Washington State University apartment. Testing of 50 items found in Kohberger's student apartment in Pullman came back with at least trace amounts of blood when they tested brown or reddish stained bedding, and that's according to an inventory list that was released in the public records FOIA request. A mattress cover and an uncased pillow each were positive for blood in the presumptive chemical test. A dark red spot on a kitchen counter near the sink could not be tested but was collected, according to the records. The records, which are newly released, do not indicate whose blood may have been present on the bedding. Among a list of other items police sought, the search warrant directed them to seize evidence of blood, body fluids, human tissue, or skin cells, or any items that contain them as part of their investigation into the Moscow 4 homicides. The other 48 tested items included stains on towels, swabs of bathroom sinks, the shower drain, a microwave, and pizza cutter in Kohberger's kitchen. Each came back without the presence of blood. Not all tested items were seized by the police. Police took the 2 pieces of bedding plus the red spot that flaked off the kitchen counter as part of more than a dozen items seized in the search. Campus police executed the search warrant on his apartment December 30th, the same day he was arrested in eastern Pennsylvania. Upon discovery of a storage closet assigned to Kohberger's apartment, the document showed police sought from a judge and received an amended search warrant for the closet, which was located in the same building as the student housing complex laundry area. Police suspected Kohberger used the storage closet between the November 13th homicides and his trip to Pennsylvania in mid-December to visit his parents for winter break. Kohberger's storage closet had cobwebs leading up to its door, which was found ajar with dust on the floor. The document showed it did not appear the closet had been recently used, and that came from Dawn Daniels, WSU's assistant police chief. Like Kohberger's campus office, nothing was seized or collected from his storage closet. WSU records also include a December 30th letter to Kohberger threatening him with criminal trespassing if he again set foot on the WSU campus, signed by WSU Police Chief Gary Jenkins. Kohberger was served with the document the next day while he was in jail in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, and includes his signature. So that was post-arrest. While still enrolled in WSU's Criminal Justice and Criminology PhD program, Kohberger previously interviewed with Jenkins, then chief of the Pullman Police Department, for a doctoral-level graduate research assistantship for public safety. Prior public records obtained showed that. So we knew that he was trying to intern. Remember, he wrote that essay and all of that. In email correspondence from April of 2022, Kohberger thanked Jenkins for his interview for the position. Brian, great to meet you and talk with you as well, Jenkins responded the same day. It remains unclear if Kohberger, who was one of the 4 finalists from his PhD program, received the role. Pullman Police and WSU spokesperson declined to answer any questions related to whether he got the research position. Now, on last Wednesday, attorneys for Kohberger asked in court for all genetic testing that investigators used to identify and justify the arrest of their client on suspicion of the University of Idaho student homicides in Moscow last year. So they want all of that. The discovery request filed by Kohberger's public defender, Ann Taylor, seeks a series of DNA-related evidence information about all involved laboratories, profile databases, lab technicians, and chain of custody details is included in the request. Now, he also has a new attorney in addition to Ann Taylor. So let's go on to that new tidbit. Alyssa Massif, a Payette-based defense attorney who once attended the same school as the 4 homicide victims, is certified to defend death penalty cases and filed a notice of appearance with the 2nd Judicial District Court. So he has a new addition to his defense team. He is, again, facing 4 first-degree murder and charges and a charge of felony burglary. Now, Massith claims on her website to be one of the top criminal defense lawyers in Idaho. One of her previous cases includes the overturning of a conviction for a man accused of attempted murder and kidnapping, and that case appeared on America's Most Wanted and he received 4 consecutive life sentences plus 50 years. So she's going to join his defense shortly after the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, called in backup from Idaho Attorney General's office, bringing in 2 high-powered assistant attorney generals from Boise, Idaho. Kohberger is due in court for a scheduling conference on May 22nd. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for the week of June 26th. Handful of other new documents filed in the case were made public, including a motion to reconsider the judge's decision to cancel a motion hearing on the appeal of Magistrate Judge Megan Marshall's restrictive gag order. And the victims are receiving posthumous honors at the University of Idaho's 2023 spring commencement. I think that was was that last Saturday or this Saturday? This Saturday. All right, so that's our Brian Kohberger news, and now let's go to Anna Walsh. This is the case. There's Anna Walsh with her then husband Brian Walsh. And newly released court documents paint a fuller picture of the strained marriage between Anna and Brian Walsh. She's the Cohasset, Massachusetts woman who disappeared on New Year's Day, and her husband has been charged with her murder. Anna was in an extramarital relationship with a man in Washington, D.C., where she worked for a real estate firm called Tishman Speyer. She worked for them for several months before she went missing. The man, who is named in court documents, told investigators he was dating Anna and said they traveled to Dublin, Ireland for Thanksgiving, and they also spent Christmas Eve together. Cell phone records show the man was Anna Walsh's most frequent contact, and that's from an affidavit from the Massachusetts State Police Trooper Connor Keefe. Keefe wrote in that document, they were open about their relationship in Washington, D.C., and they had plans to celebrate the new year on January 4th, 2022, after she returned from Massachusetts. Investigators say there's no indication that Anna ever made it back to D.C. 39-year-old mother of 3 was last seen in the early hours of New Year's Day after celebrating the holiday with her husband and a friend at the Walsh's Cohasset home. Prosecutors allege that Brian Walsh killed his wife and dismembered her body in the basement of their house, and then he disposed of the evidence in various dumpsters around Greater Boston. He now faces charges of first-degree murder, misleading police, and improper conveyance of a human body. Excuse me, I just swallowed wrong. Prosecutors referenced Walsh's suspicions about an affair during his arraignment in Norfolk Superior Court last week, seemingly laying the groundwork for a potential motive. Anna Walsh also had a $2.7 million life insurance policy with Brian Walsh's name as the sole beneficiary. Walsh had his mother hire a private investigator to follow Anna in Washington, D.C., and Tracy Minor disputed that characterization. Minor said her client's mother hired the investigator on her own, adding Mr. Walsh had no idea that his wife was having an affair until he learned about it in discovery in this case. The Walsh's marriage was damaged in other ways. According to court records, Brian Walsh had pled guilty to selling 2 fake Andy Warhol paintings in 2016, and he was awaiting sentencing. He also faced a legal battle over his late father's will. Anna Walsh's friend told investigator that the Walsh's marriage was strained and that Anna had given Brian some sort of ultimatum about the resolution of his criminal case. She wanted her kids to be with her in D.C. When investigators viewed Anna's residence in Washington, D.C., they observed it to be ready for the kids to move in there with their clothes and other items available, wrote Keefe, that state trooper. In a separate affidavit, MSP Trooper Nicholas Guarino asserted there is absolutely no indication that Anna Walsh would have voluntarily disappeared and ceased all communications with those close to her. Anna Walsh, he wrote, had made future plans for both herself in a professional and personal context, as well as for herself with her children. Okay, and then a key piece of evidence in the case against Brian Walsh were the Google searches, which were quite disturbing. Beginning in the early hours of New Year's Day, he allegedly used his son's iPad for searches that ranged from how long before a body starts to smell to dismemberment and the best ways to dispose of a body. And he searched hacksaw, best tool to dismember. He had little to say when investigators confronted him about those searches during a January 8th interview at his home, at the home of his lawyer, Tracy Minor. An affidavit from Massachusetts State Trooper Connor Keefe, filed in the Quincy District Court, reads, Brian offered no explanation other than the iPad belonged to his son. Trooper D. DeCico asked if the 6-year-old was of average intelligence, and Brian stated, I'd like to think so. When told that the searches had no misspelled words, he offered no explanation. Attorney Tracy Minor offered the possibility that Anna had performed some of the searches on the iPad. Then Trooper DeCico asked Brian to explain how the searches continued in the days that followed, well after he said Anna had left the home. Brian then again had no explanation, and his attorney, Tracy Minor, terminated the interview at that point. During Walsh's arraignment in Norfolk Superior Court, Minor acknowledged the searches as problematic, but pointed to other searches made, including a question about lottery winnings and a search for family vacation destinations. He's due back in court on August 23rd. Let's see if we have any other things we want to go over on that. Okay, which would bring us to Lori Vallow. So closing arguments and the Lori Vallow Daybell trial are set for today. And that will lead into the verdict watch. Lori, of course, is on trial for the deaths of her two children, J.J. Vallow and Tylee Ryan. She's also accused of being involved in the death of Tammy Daybell, who was Chad Daybell's wife before she mysteriously died. After nearly 6 weeks of testimony, prosecution and defense teams rested. Closing arguments are going to be held today, May 11th. And let me see about this stream here. So here's from, let me pull this over there, the Ada County Court, what it says here. Over there. Preparing for the verdict. This was updated at 6:28 a.m. In anticipation of the increased public interest in the verdict stage of this trial, the court has issued orders listed below that will apply specifically to the reading of the verdict. This page will provide frequent updates and will announce when a verdict has been reached. The courthouse will remain open to the public during deliberations. Reading the verdict. Once a verdict is reached, it will be announced on this page, and you can watch the reading of the verdict one of two ways. You can watch it in person at the Ada County Courthouse in courtroom 400. Seating will be first come, first served basis until courtroom capacity has been met. Seating cannot be reserved in advance, and there will be no priority or designated seating for the public or the media. All attendees must comply with all courtroom and courthouse decorum orders. The other way is online, live streaming via the court's YouTube channel for Judge Stephen Boyce. The broadcast will not be streamed to any viewing locations. Absolutely no transmission or recording of any sort, audio, video, photographic, or otherwise, is allowed within the courthouse, courtroom, or other areas within the control of the courts. Okay, so let's look. Orders to broadcast the verdict. And let's see what this says. The court has received multiple requests from various media outlets to obtain approval to record and broadcast the reading of the verdict in this case. On September 23rd, 2022, the court entered a memorandum decision and order prohibiting video and photographic coverage, removing visual coverage of court proceedings in this case, including the jury trial. As an alternative to rescind the order, and upon consideration that much of the rationale for the removing visual coverage is absolved upon the conclusion of the presentation of evidence and closing arguments in this case, the court will broadcast through its official YouTube channel using the court's own media devices, visual and audio coverage of the verdict stage of the case. Any individual wishing to access the video and audio feed may do so by visiting the court's website at, and the link is that it is so ordered. Now, it does not appear, according to this, that I know some of you said, oh, other channels are going to be streaming it from the YouTube channel. I'm not willing to risk my channel to do that. It appears that they want you to watch on the YouTube channel. So that's what we'll do. And we'll come back and discuss it unless there is something. Let's see if there's any other. The overflow and remote viewing locations are being offered for portions of jury trials subject to technological needs and possible periodic interruptions. Any attempt by anyone without prior leave of the court to contact, communicate with, audio, video, record, or photograph any member of the jury panel, blah, 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 any person violating the terms. Okay. Persons interested in viewing the broadcast are directed to the AITA County website for additional information. The simulcast rooms in AITA are unnecessary, will no longer be available upon the conclusion of the closing. I think the reading of once a verdict is reached, it will be announced on the page, and you can watch the reading of the verdict in one of two ways: in person or online, live streaming. It doesn't say live streaming of this broadcast on other YouTube channels. I won't risk my channel. Sorry, I won't do it. I like to follow the rules. So that's about that. Now we have, what else do we have here? So we will, let's, of course, we, discuss it and everything afterwards. Okay. This over here, and we'll see some of those great court drawings. And Closing arguments are underway in the murder trial of Vallow Daybell. This will give the state and the defense one last chance to leave their lasting comments with the jury, who will begin deliberating directly afterwards. Okay, so live updates at 9 o'clock. Let's see. The first update, it looks like 8:56 a.m. Presiding Judge Stephen Boyce said there is sufficient evidence to bring forth the case to the jury, and he will deny the motion for each of the 7 counts. Vallow will not be acquitted before a verdict. The jury will be brought in for the judge to read 39 jury instructions that they must follow when deliberating. And at 9, the judge was saying, even if you don't understand the reasons for some of the rules, you are bound to follow them. The jury must decide what the facts are based on the evidence and apply it to the law. Arguments and statements by lawyers are not evidence, said the judge. The jury must follow their memory or their notes they have taken throughout the trial. Evidence from Arizona was admitted, but only to prove motive. Stephen Boyce told the jury they cannot consider this outside the scope of motive. Other exhibits were provided only for demonstrative purposes and also cannot be considered as evidence. So we'll check back if there's any other live updates from Alexandra Duggan. Okay, so let's go to just quickly, we touched on this last night. I'll touch on it again. Jordan Vandersloot, the suspect in the 2005 disappearance of Natalie Holloway in Aruba, is going to be extradited to the United States from Peru to face charges that he extorted Natalie's mother. Miss Holloway disappeared during a trip to the Dutch island with her Alabama high school class. She was 18 years old. She was declared dead in 2012, and the unsolved case has long generated great public interest in the United States and worldwide. We know that our own Jeanette follows this case very closely, and she is in Holland. Jordan Vandersloot is a citizen of the Netherlands who grew up in Aruba and has been linked for years to Natalie Holloway's disappearance. She was last seen leaving an Aruba nightclub in a car with him and 2 other young men around 1:30 a.m. on May 30th, 2005. He is serving a 28-year prison sentence in Peru for murder in a separate case, and that is the 2010 strangulation death of Stephanie Flores, who was a 21-year-old Peruvian student. He was sentenced in 2012 at age 24 after pleading guilty. Around the time of his arrest in the Flores case, he was indicted by a federal grand jury in Alabama on charges of trying to extort Natalie Holloway's mother, Beth Holloway, for $250,000 in exchange for information about how Natalie Holloway died and the location of her body. Natalie's body has never been found. He did accept an initial payment of $25,000, and that was in an FBI sting operation, and he provided what he knew was bogus information. The Peruvian embassy in Washington said in a statement on Wednesday that Mr. Vandersloot would be temporarily handed over to the United States for prosecution in that, saying, "We hope that this action will enable a process that will help to bring peace to Mrs. Holloway and to her family, who are grieving in the same way that the Flores family in Peru is grieving for the loss of their daughter Stephanie. And that was said by Peru's ambassador to the United States, Gustavo Meza Quadra. An attorney for Vandersloot, Maximo Altez, said that he would fight the decision. And okay, so we have, let's see here. We have that little tidbit, and let me just see. So now we're to, I'm just trying to see what we've covered here. Okay, let's go now to our Mormon mom accused of poisoning her husband. There, yesterday we uncovered a lot with connections to his family, and he was from a very prominent family in the area, and she was also trying to flip a house that had its own controversial history. So let me go to that. Let me get a picture of that house up. Give me a second here. Okay. Let's see. I had everything up here ready to go. And of course, hang on. Okay. Okay, this is a picture of the realtor, first-time author, who was planning a series of books about grief. Her first one, Are You With Me?, was about, or inspired by, the sudden death of her husband, Eric, last year. She claimed that she wrote a children's book that she hoped would help her three boys process the loss, comforted by the knowledge that their father would always be with them. But 2 months since the book was published, she was charged with murdering her husband by poisoning him with a lethal dose of fentanyl at their Park City, Utah home. That was in March of 2022. The autopsy and toxicology report determined that Eric Richins, who was 39, had 5 times the lethal dosage of fentanyl in his system, and that the medical examiner said that that fentanyl was illicit and not medical grade, and also concluded that the fentanyl had been ingested orally. And Mrs. Richins told investigators that on the evening of March 3rd, 2022, that her and her husband were celebrating the closing of a sale on a house that Kouri Richins, the wife, a real estate agent, had sold. She made her husband a Moscow Mule in the kitchen around 9 p.m. She brought it up to their bedroom and said that her husband Eric drank it while sitting up in bed. She said that one of the boys woke up around 3 a.m. and was having a nightmare. She went to the son's room, stayed with him, and when she returned to the couple's bedroom, she said that her husband, Eric, was cold to the touch. She then called 911, and she said to investigators that she left her cell phone in the bedroom, and while she was in the other son, while she was in one of her son's rooms, but that wasn't the case. According to the data from the phone, the Summit County Sheriff's deputies and emergency medical workers arrived at the house. They found Eric Richins on the floor at the foot of the bed. Now, she had said she attempted CPR on him, but that was also unbelievable because he had blood coming from his mouth, and obviously it was easy to see that it had not been performed. So she also said she left her phone plugged in next to her bed when she went to go with her son, but investigators found that the phone had been locked and unlocked multiple times between the time she had gone to her son's bedroom and the 911 call. Beyond that, she had sent and received messages during that time. The messages were later deleted. In addition to the murder charges, she is also charged with 3 counts of possession of a controlled substance, gamma hydroxybutyric acid, with intent to distribute. GHB is a narcolepsy drug that is also used recreationally at dance clubs and has been referred to as a date rape drug. A search of her phone found several communications with an acquaintance identified in the court paperwork as CL. According to these court documents, CL has faced multiple drug charges and said that Kouri Richins had reached out to him. See, it was a typo. Yesterday, one of the media outlets was reporting CL as a woman, but it is a man. Between December 2021 and February 2022, seeking help getting prescription pain medication, which she said was for one of her investors who had a back injury. 2 weeks after pain pills were delivered, Kouri Richins again contacted CL and said she was looking for something stronger. She asked for some of that Michael Jackson stuff, but then specified she was looking for fentanyl. Well, Michael Jackson died from propofol. CL then sold her 15 to 30 fentanyl pills for $900. On February 14th of 2022, that Valentine's Day, 3 days after she purchased the pills, Eric Richins became ill after a Valentine's Day dinner at the couple's home in Camas, Utah. Eric later told friends that he thought his wife was trying to poison him. 2 weeks later, Kouri Richins contacts that CL person again and asked for another $900 worth of those fentanyl pills. CL procures the pills from a dealer, and left them for Kouri outside a house that she was selling in Midway, Utah, south of Park City. 6 days later, Eric's found dead of a fentanyl overdose. But we know there's quite a lot more. Kouri went in and tried to change the beneficiary of her husband's life insurance policy. He had a masonry business with a partner, and they were beneficiaries on each other's insurance. Well, she went in there and tried to change that, but that didn't happen because they were alerted. Did you make this change? And then Eric made the beneficiary his sister. So she then, after not knowing this or confirming that, after he died, she finds out from said sister that she is not the beneficiary of her husband's estate because her husband had suspected her of trying to poison him and apparently was going to file for divorce. Why he stayed with her, because it was, I believe, years earlier that he thought she was trying to poison him as well. And she then assaulted her sister-in-law. So there's a lot here. Let me go and see if we can get more information on that assault. Okay. Okay, so let's put this up here. According to the charging documents, Kouri gave Eric a lethal dose of fentanyl in a cocktail that she prepared to celebrate the selling of a home for her real estate business. It's 5 times the lethal dose of the drug fentanyl, and it was an illicit form of fentanyl, not a medical grade. Prior to that fentanyl, that CL person had given her hydrocodone pills. She had asked for something stronger. Eric told multiple people he believed his wife was trying to kill him on 2 prior occasions. Once on that Valentine's Day 2022, and another time on a trip to Greece a few years prior. Eric said he consumed a drink that made him violently ill. So this is, like that dentist is poisoning. This is years prior. He even has the thought that something that makes him violently ill, his wife might have poisoned. I can't even imagine having those kind of thoughts and staying with that person. But I can't even imagine going and jumping right to those thoughts. Why would you not think that just something was wrong with that drink? But to think that your spouse would poison you, that's just absurd to me. She tried to change her husband's life insurance policy to make herself the sole beneficiary. Eric changed the policy to his masonry business co-owner and was in the process of seeking a divorce. Eric told his sister he feared that Kouri would kill him for the money. So he placed his sister in charge of his estate. Then that was when they found out she had won into the computer and tried to change the beneficiary of that life insurance policy. And Kouri assaulted her sister-in-law at a party she held the day after her husband's death. She then began the process of suing her sister-in-law for control of her husband's estate. She also writes that book about grief after her husband's death, saying in description, a heartwarming and reassuring book that gently guides children through the difficult experience of losing a loved one, written by a loving mother who personally faced this challenge. This book is designed to offer comfort and solace to young minds in a way that is both accessible and engaging. She went on local news stations to discuss the book and the loss of her husband. The book has since been removed from the shelves of Amazon and I believe other booksellers. What else we get? Here's another picture of the couple. His family members, including his sister, who is the beneficiary, told police that Kouri had an alleged history of violence and past attempts to poison Eric, so much so he had warned them that if anything happened to him, that Kouri was to blame. Police were called to the Willow Court home just after 3:20 a.m. on March 4th of 2022. They arrived when they did, they found Eric Richins' body on the floor at the foot of his bed. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Police later unearthed Richins' alleged connection to an accused drug dealer who admitted to selling her fentanyl pills, which she allegedly said she was buying for an investor who had a back injury. According to Eric's sister, Eric and his wife went to Greece a few years ago, and after his wife gave him a drink, he became violently ill, called his sister, saying he believed his wife had tried to kill him. She's doing court on May 19th. Now let me get the information about the house and all of that. Hold on one second. Okay, here's the house we're going to look at. And oh, thank you, Kathy Blanton, for the super chat. I appreciate that very much, and welcome to our channel. Thank you. I was on another screen and I just went back to make sure that we're still live here. Okay, so let me go back to this now. So Kouri Richins was hell-bent on buying a 22,000 square foot unfinished home in Heber City, Utah. Her husband Eric refused to pay $2 million for it. And let me see if I can find the... Okay, so this is a home that you're seeing there. It's on 8.75 acres, 22,000 square feet. It broke ground in 2017 but was never finished. It's located in Midway, Utah, and had been a long-time roadside curiosity. It's the house that Kouri Richins wanted to buy and flip. Her husband, Eric, thought it was too expensive. The 20,000 square foot mansion sits on almost 9 acres north of State Route 113 in East Midway at 106 North Legacy Way, and it also includes a 3,000 square foot guest house. This property was a source of disagreement between Eric and Kouri in their marriage. The couple was under contract at the time of Eric's death, and it's alleged that he thought the $2 million price tag was too much. But it is what she references in the celebratory cocktail, and apparently closed the deal right after he died. The day after her husband died, on March 5th, she closed on this house. She held a gathering at the home that day, and according to search warrants, that's also when she learned that she'd been cut out of Eric's will, making her financially unstable. 2 weeks after Eric died, Kouri put that home back on the market for nearly $5 million, and now there's a buyer. Realtor Mike Malmrose has been the property's listing agent since at least March of 2022, before authorities made the murder investigation public, and he confirmed that the mansion is now under contract at the reduced price of $3.75 million. There is a video on the Malmrose Company YouTube channel, and it shows the concept of the house finished for the ultimate vision of an 8-bedroom, 11.5 bath property, a therapy pool, full-size pool, exercise room, golf simulator, indoor volleyball court, and a room designed for virtual reality installations. If the buyer doesn't close, the realtor said he doesn't know what plan B would be, but he indicated a couple of other buyers were interested. And that would be good news for Kouri, who retained not only a criminal defense attorney, Sky Lazaro, but also a bankruptcy attorney, Austin Nate. Neither attorney gave any comment about the pending murder charges at the time. Now I'm going to tell you about the history of this house here. Let's see here. So back March 21st of 2022, 2 large unfinished buildings sit off State Route 113 near the Provo River. One's an 8-bedroom, 12-bathroom, 20,000 square foot mansion, and the other's a 3,000 square foot carriage home. The project has been a topic of community interest since the building began their construction in 2017 and came to a halt. The former owner lost interest in the project while pursuing philanthropic initiatives in Guatemala and recently sold the property. Some of the work is documented at welcomehand.org. The new owner, represented by Malmrose, listed it Friday for $5 million, and that was Kouri. The half-finished buildings sit on almost 9 acres. Foundations of walls, ceiling, stairs, and patios are installed, as well as many windows and doors. According to the listing, it plans to include a therapy pool, full-size pool, exercise room, golf simulator, yada, yada, yada. Whatever. 2 of the bedrooms are designed like dormitories, the listing said. The house sleeps up to 60 people. But there's more history behind this, as I've been doing a lot of reading into this. So let me get the other information I had unearthed about this. So let me get here. Okay, let's see if it's this one. Hold on 1 second, because I had this. There was something about, I was reading about newlyweds that let me go to the address here. Okay, this is the listing. Look at this usually expensive house using particle board and not real plywood. I find that fascinating. Cutting corners with particle board. Okay. Under contract, accepting backup orders. 2 homes with 9.75 acres near Midway, finished an already framed architectural masterpiece, complete with a butler's pantry, office, swimming pool, therapy pool, exercise room, golf simulator, multi-purpose indoor volleyball court, climbing rock wall, 2 common rooms, 2 kitchens, and even a room dedicated for virtual reality experiences. Enjoy covered patios with breathtaking, unobstructed mountain views. The 8 bedrooms plus office have adjoining bathrooms and can sleep up to 60 people for your family reunions, church gatherings, etc. This property also includes an additional 3,300 square foot, 4-bedroom, 3-bath guest caretaker's home, framed and sheetrocked, sitting on Midway Lane and next to the world-class Provo River, home of the Blue Ribbon fly fishing. You will be within walking distance to Midway's famous Main Street and minutes from the Jordanelle Gondola of Deer Valley, the forthcoming Mayflower Mountain Resort, 5 renowned public golf courses, cross-country skiing at Soldier Hollow, 2 beautiful reservoirs for your choice of water sports, Swiss days, and miles upon miles of maintained trails for running, hiking, and biking. Drive a little farther and you can snowmobile for any distance. Visit downtown Park City and enjoy Salt Lake City. See what this bedroom community has to offer and discover why everyone who visits wants to stay. Ask your agent for the website with an artist's CAD rendering of the finished product. Square footage figures provided as a courtesy estimate only and obtained from house plans. Acreage by public records. Buyer is advised to obtain independent measurements. So it doesn't even have bathrooms and kitchens installed, the most expensive things to put into a home. Beyond that, it's just a shell framed house with the windows. Let's see here. There is Okay, I'm trying to figure out where I had my... Let me just get this over here. Okay. Okay. All right, I think I found what I was talking. Yes, I've got it. Okay, so the previous owner in 2017, his name was Doug Roylance. He started building the house and intended to use it as a communal space for rent and usage. Al, this is kind of what, if you're listening, this is kind of what you want to all live in, right? It had initially been valued at $7.6 million. Roylance was constructing a dream home with 8 bedrooms, 12 bathrooms, 2 kitchens, a swimming pool, a golf simulator, and a rock climbing wall. But 2 years later, in 2019, the development paused on the mansion and guest house because there had been an unattended death. Okay, here's the haunted part of it. An unattended death occurring on the site in September. Since Roy Lance never meant for the property to be his primary residence, he lost interest in the project, and by the end of 2019, all work ceased. Roy Lance eventually put the unfinished mansion on the market and relocated to Guatemala, where he operates philanthropic organization. The 10-acre property was purchased by a young couple relocating to the Heber Valley in January of 2022 after spending nearly 2 years on the market. The couple had intended to finish construction and move into the home until the husband unexpectedly passed away shortly after closing the sale on the property. Well, that isn't true. She closed on it the day after he died, and this is something that was written. Understandably, the current owner, now widowed, has been preoccupied for obvious reasons and has not resumed construction. She since relisted the home with an asking price of $4.75 million. If purchased, the buyer has to continue construction at their own expense. Construction to finish the property would take roughly 6 months to a year, dependent on the weather. The house is listed by Rosewood and Fathom Realty, and more information can be found on their website. But it's now under contract. They're taking backup offers. The other thing is that unattended death that occurred on the property. That's interesting, isn't it? So let's look at prosecutors allege that, let me see, hold on, we went over that. So Kouri's attorney is Sky Lazaro. And the Utah Department of Child Protective Services did not respond to questions about where her children are because she's being held without bail. Search warrants show that family members were interviewed by investigators indicating that Eric Richins was seeking to divorce his wife and had recently changed his will and his life insurance policy. One of his sisters told officers that a brother had long suspected his wife of attempting to poison him, including on a vacation to Greece several years ago. The warrants described the conflict between the couple over a $2 million home that Kouri had purchased with the aim to resell it quickly, despite objections from her husband over the price. Civil court filings submitted in different cases after Eric's death outline how the suspicious circumstances became entangled with questions over his assets and an estate held in trust and managed by his sister. Kouri and her sister-in-law had a fight the day after Eric's death at the family's home. She subsequently sued for more than $3.6 million and to remove Katie Richins Benson as trustee, arguing that a prenuptial agreement she and her husband had signed entitled her to his assets if he died before they divorced. It remains unclear how the estate dispute will be affected by the murder and drug possession charges against Kouri. Utah law prohibits those convicted of homicide from profiting from their crime. The charges are based on officers' interactions with Kouri on the night of her husband's death and the account of an unnamed acquaintance who claims to have sold her fentanyl. Okay, now there's something else I want to look at. Let me see something here. Okay. Okay, so this hold on one second. I'm trying to get to this. Apparently is the Richins home where Eric was found murdered. And that's in Kamas, Kamas, Utah. Kamas is known as the gateway to Unitas. Okay. And let's see what else we have here. Trying to see her. Let's see if I can find the other thing. So the Richins family is supposed to be very, very prominent in Utah. And let's see something over here. Let me see why the Richins family. Okay. It's a family friend who says she introduced Kouri Richins to her late husband Eric, spoke about her shock to the news of her arrest. Let's see what the friend said. Linda King said she introduced the two to one another at a Home Depot. King who was working as a cashier along with Kouri Richins, said it was a fairy tale romance. She said, "I pray to God this isn't true. The family was so beautiful. Everything was picture perfect, but I guess it wasn't. King said that Eric Richins was a frequent and favorite customer at the Home Depot where she and Kouri worked. You could never forget his laugh, she said. I loved that laugh so much. He would come into my line all the time. She said that she was the one who encouraged him to ask Kouri out after seeing her catch his eye. I said, go over there and check out with her, you know. So they did, and they ended up having a date. From then on, they were like glue to each other. It was perfect, I thought. After Kouri left the cashier job, she and King kept in touch. King said she felt a special connection to the couple. It seemed like they were my children. I was proud of them, and that's how I felt about them. When Kouri told King that Eric died of a brain aneurysm last year, she said she was both surprised and devastated, but she never questioned it or suspected foul play. I thought, well, that's what it was. Poor Eric, said King. She even looked at buying Kouri's book on Amazon, written for children about grief and loss. Looking back now, it's something she finds deeply disturbing. It makes me sick to my stomach to think about that. While she said she wants to leave it up to the courts to decide, King said she's completely torn over the news and was trying to wrap her head around something that seems so unbelievable. Like she couldn't do that. She wouldn't do that. She had too much. It's more than super shocking. I really feel numb. Okay, so that's a little more insight. She was working at a Home Depot. There was something else I wanted to touch on about. Oh, let's see. Okay, let's see here. So Eric Richins, he had a masonry business with his partner. Okay. This apparently, let's see. This is his public Facebook, May 10th, 2019. Third candidate for summit, okay. Okay. Kouri is an amazing wife, nice moose. Look at that. I hope he doesn't pull the house down. You're one lucky dude for Kouri to let you put that in your guy's house. That thing's massive, sweet, wow. He turned out great. Might have to rearrange a few bucks to make room. Kouri is an amazing wife. So there's a link to Kouri's Facebook there. There's Linda King. That is the woman that introduced them. But her Facebook is locked down. Okay. $500 reward for anyone who finds the POS who stole these antlers off the front of my cabin in Fairview. They are just a European skull find of a scruffy job at that there were 2 sets about the same time, pushing $350. If you know who has them, let me know. I'll pay you the $500 and I'll do the rest. I just want to cut their nuts off and watch them eat them, and we will call it even. What a POS. What the heck? And then he reposted that in 2016. In 2015 is when he posted that. It's been a great year, he said. Thanks for being part of it. So he's a big game hunter here. Alaska was good times with these huge antlers. He believed these stupid Facebook craziness. This is in 2013. You make a fabulous couple. I believe this is remembering. This is Richins no longer alive. Thanks for the birthday wishes. It made my day. On 2011, he said, so I'm single now, looking to mingle with some new guys. Girls are overrated. I figured it would be better to be gay. Feel free to write me on my Facebook. What? Someone said, you finally are admitting it, huh? We've all known for years. I'll keep my eye out for you, ha ha. I always knew by the way you would spy on me when I would take a shower. I wish you can find that special guy very soon. Yeah, kind of figured as much. You should hook up with that chick on Xbox Live. So that's why you come and hang out all the time? Oh, what happened? You break up with Bryce? That message was from Josh on my phone. We could have rode Doubleday. Bryce, you just wish he would pick you. Ha ha ha, love you tons. That's that woman that is no longer alive. Amy Richins says, ha ha ha. Now that looks like her brother. Okay, well, that's a little odd. His Facebook is a little bit odd, but thanks, Bryce. Graduated from U of U. CNE stonemasonry. Last test. Mexico, here I come. And married June 15th, 2013. Okay, well, let me see if you guys are still here. You smashed the like, you didn't mash the like, right? Nate Eaton is tweeting play-by-play. Okay, I'll check it out right now. There was another one that was, let's go, we'll go to Nate Eaton. Okay, so. Puppies are running around like crazy. Okay, so go back to the beginning of this. Okay, new thread. During the break, a man took a photo inside the courtroom. He was immediately asked to leave, and the bailiff made him delete the photo. Cameras are not allowed. That was 21 minutes ago by Nate Eaton from East Idaho News. Then 19 minutes ago says that Madison County Prosecuting Attorney Rob Wood will present closing arguments on behalf of the state. Fremont County Prosecuting Attorney Lindsay Blake gave opening statements in the case a month ago. 14 minutes ago, Nate Eaton tweeted, "Money, power, and sex." Beginning in October of 2018, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell set in a motion of events. Along the way, they included her brother Alex Cox to participate in a conspiracy, unencumbered and free of obstacles. And then the plan was driven by Lori Vallow's desire for and use of money, power, and sex. This plan must end today in the verdicts you render in this trial. A photo of Tylee Ryan is shown on the screen. She was burned and buried in Chad Daybell's backyard. What was left of her body they dumped in a green bucket and buried in a pet cemetery on top of a piece of her skull. Tylee was gone and buried and out of the way, but Lori Vallow kept collecting Tylee's money. Lori never reported that Tylee was missing. She lied to multiple people. She had to keep her body hidden so that she could keep getting the money. Now a photo of J.J. Vallow is on the screen. J.J.'s voice was silenced forever by a strip of duct tape placed across his mouth. A white plastic bag was placed over his head where it was secured tightly with duct tape wrapped around and around from his forehead to his neck. The evidence say he struggled and will never know how long he fought before they wrapped tape around his wrist and ankles. He stopped breathing, his heart stopped beating, and he died. It was a brutal, horrific murder of his 7-year-old boy with special needs. Would continue, just like Tylee, Lori never reported that JJ was missing or dead. She kept collecting the money. She lied to multiple people and even asked a friend to lie to the police about JJ's location. Just like Tylee, after JJ was murdered, she kept collecting the money. A picture of Tammy Daybell now is on the screen 9 minutes ago. A loving mother of 5, a school librarian, was murdered in her own home. She was asphyxiated in her own home. Evidence is clear that Lori, Chad, and Alex conspired to murder Tammy. Acting together, they caused her death. Her death occurred just a little over a week after a masked gunman attempted to shoot her as she entered her home after a night of church activity. Lori was conveniently gone for both the attempted murder and the successful murder. Those trips were not coincidences, and just like Tylee and JJ, there was money to be gained from Tammy's death, $430,000 worth of life insurance money, and Lori wasted no time to benefit from that money. Now there are wedding photos of Chad and Lori on the beach. Rob Wood says they were freed from the obstacles of their kids and wife. They were dancing on the beach. You have seen plenty of evidence of the affair that took place after they met. Wood now walked the jury through a timeline that tells the truth as it is displayed on the screen. Wood says Lori Vallow is the one who ties this all together. He talks about the attempted shooting of Brandon B. Rexburg police getting a call looking for JJ, the investigation into the missing kids, Tammy's body being exhumed, and the children being found. Wood talks about Idaho law and this being a crime of agreement Did Lori agree to have Tylee killed and steal that money? Did she intend for those actions to actually happen? And did any of the conspirators perform an overt act in furtherance of that agreement? 5 minutes ago, Wood says when it comes to conspiracy, you need to ask yourself who murdered these people. Did Lori intend for it to happen? And was one of these overt acts accomplished in furtherance of the conspiracy? Four minutes ago, Wood was speaking about Tylee's murder charge. Did Lori aid and abet in that murder? Did she encourage the murder? Under the law, if you find Lori aided and abetted, advised, or counseled in the murder of Tylee, you must convict her. And the same must be done with JJ's murder. Wood talks about Tammy's conspiracy charge, and he asked jurors if Lori was involved. He talks about the grand theft. He tells jurors to read the instructions carefully, and they will find the state has met its burden beyond a reasonable doubt. Wood says, don't lose this verdict by omitting the specifics. That was 4 minutes ago. Let's see. Okay. Let me go over here. Wood says 5 minutes ago, a reasonable doubt is based on reason and common sense. Use your reason and your common sense as you deliberate. Malice is one of those words that may mean something in the real world versus in court. Follow the jury instructions. Malice can be expressed where someone says they want it to happen, or it can be implied. You will find express and implied malice in this case. There is an abundance of malice. Aiding and abetting is just the same as pulling the trigger. Overt acts. On a conspiracy, you must find at least one overt act beyond a reasonable doubt. Overt acts in and of themselves don't need to be illegal, but if it's an act done in furtherance conspiracy, then it's an overt act and makes it part of the crime. Wood says, to be clear, nobody here has been charged for their religious beliefs. They have been charged for using those religious beliefs to justify murder. Many jurors are taking notes. Others are looking at Wood as he gives his argument. Wood continues, they couldn't kill the kids in Arizona where they had family and friends. Moving to Rexburg was the catalyst for these murders. They had to hide Tylee and JJ. They had to go somewhere nobody knew them. Moving to Rexburg was the catalyst for the murders, and then Alex followed. Wood says, don't lose the verdict by omitting the specifics. Okay, let me go here. They had to go somewhere nobody knew them. Moving to Rexburg was the catalyst for the murders, and then Alex followed. Wood lists off overt acts he says Lori used to further conspiracy and grand theft. She never reported her kids missing. She changed bank accounts to get Social Security benefits from her kids, burner phones, etc. All these steps were taken to further the conspiracy. Wood mentions the text messages about Tammy being in limbo and being possessed by a zombie. Wood explains how Alex visited gun ranges, went to Sportsman's Warehouse, and then was located at a church near Chad's house on the night Tammy died. These are all overt acts and steps taken to get to murder. Lori is looking at Wood as he is speaking. Wood reviews the digital evidence, including all the searches on the Homer J. Maximus account, which was Alex Cox's account. On the screen is a list of searches that Alex did about preparing an AR in the cold, shooting through a Dodge Dakota, the same vehicle Tammy and Chad owned, and how to drill baffles to make a suppressor. Trying to save the latest here. I don't have another update yet. We'll see. I'll keep refreshing this. Still, the last one I have is on the screen is a list of searches Alex did about prepping an AR in the cold, shooting through a Dodge Dakota, the same vehicle Tammy and Chad owned, and how to drill baffles to make a suppressor. Okay, so let me see here. Hold on one second. Sorry, I had to ask him to lower that music. Let's see here. Here we go. So we have some more now. 34 seconds ago, Wood talks about Chad Daybell searching SSW winds on September 8th. The next day, he knows he will be burning Tylee Ryan in his fire pit, and he needs to know which way the wind will be blowing. This is the only time he searches wind direction. Wood shows the searches on the Lolly Time Forever account and Lori Vallow Google searches. The day Tammy Daybell is being burned, Lori is looking up wedding dresses in Hawaii. I'm waiting for other updates here. Let me just go back to our live stream here. Wood talks about Chad Daybell searching. Yeah. Trishy. Trishy says, oh my gosh, this is such a good closing by the state. Hi, Lex Luthor. Verdict will be live streamed, which we don't think will be today, right? And what about closing arguments? Is it audio only? Yeah, they're not streaming the closing arguments, and the verdict can be watched via the judge's YouTube channel. Lex Luthor. Let me go back to the Twitter feed. Still, the last one I have is this is the only time he searches wind direction. Wood shows the searches on the Lolly Time Forever account and Lori Vallow Google searches. The day Tammy Daybell is being buried, Lori is looking up wedding dresses in Hawaii. Her boyfriend's wife is being buried that day, and she's already looking for wedding dresses. Wood reads the raccoon text from Chad Daybell to Tammy Daybell on September 9th. This text is where Chad Daybell told us where to find Tylee Ryan. Tylee Ryan was seen in Yellowstone National Park and then was never seen again, but she turned up in Chad Daybell's pet cemetery. Wood references the James and Elena story. This was all a plan for them to be together without obstacles. Obstacles was the word that they used. Okay. Wood says this all revolves around money and reminds the jury of Colby Ryan's testimony. Every 2 to 3 months, Lori would tell him, "We are out of money." It was a concern for her. Wood shows the Google location history of Alex Cox and a map that lays out his cell phone activity the early morning of September 9th of 2019. We see the map of Alex's movements from the morning of September 9th and the GPS hits off his phone. There is a hit at the burn pit on Chad's property, another hit right by where Tylee was buried, and another hit at the gate to the property. We now see a slide after Tylee was buried. Wood says they've done the deed. They burned Tylee, they dismembered and buried her. And I'm sorry, before when I said Wood, don't lose this verdict by omitting the specifics, that wasn't said by him. This was said by someone that was watching. Okay. So I'm just waiting for another update. Okay. Now we have some more. Let's see. Wood reminds the jury of Melanie Gibbs and David Warwick's testimony. Lori told them JJ was a zombie and acting out. On the morning of September 23rd, David asks about JJ. Lori tells him he was climbing up the cabinets and refrigerator, so she sent him with Alex Cox. An overt act. Alex Cox. Oh my gosh. Cox. Oh my gosh. This is so horrible. Alex Cox took possession of JJ that morning. Wood now shows where Alex was that morning, in his apartment, then on his way to Chad's house with JJ Vallow in tow. That was Slip, what he has, right? Okay. No matter how many tips police followed up on, they never found JJ. They never found Tylee except here, where Alex's phone was pinged by GPS. Wood says, pointing to Chad's backyard, Alex spent 17 minutes at Chad's house that day. That grave was not dug in 17 minutes. It was premeditated, planned. Still waiting on the next update. Okay. Wood talks about Chad getting his burner phone on October 9th, the day Tammy was shot at. Alex is at his sister's house and then goes to the Sportsman's Warehouse. You can follow his phone as he scopes out the property. Wood shows a timeline of digital data from that day. 15 texts between Alex and Chad in a short amount of time. What ties Alex to Chad? Lori Vallow. Still waiting for another update there. Checking out this. What a surprise to see you on now. A Heart Made Wise says, oh, hi. Hi, Cat's Got Your Tongue. How are you? Hi, everybody that joined us. We're going through Nate's tweets about this. Hi, little lady. Okay, let me go back and try to get another update. Okay, here we go. Wood now talking about the night Tammy died, the night Tammy was murdered. He shows a timeline showing the digital activity from that night between Alex and Chad and Tammy. An image is deleted from Tammy's phone that night. Alex calls Lori at 11:53 p.m. Lori is in Hawaii on purpose, not a coincidence, Wood says. Janae says, Chad worked in a cemetery, so I think it was easy for him to kill and bury these children. They should name a Netflix documentary, The Grave and Gold Digger. Seems more than the Doomsday Cult Mom. Let's see. Okay. let's go back. And for those of you, just while we're waiting for the next update, we are going to be walking in Zoom. You can walk, you can run, you can bike around 4 o'clock this afternoon. Anybody that would like to join us is a member of Patreon. If you're in Slack, the numbers will be in Slack. If you're not in Slack, you can email. And I'm still waiting for the next. Okay, here we go. An overhead image of Chad Daybell's property is shown on the screen. What explains a warrant was served on the property June 9th of 2020. Multiple officers testified to you of watching Chad Daybell in that car, looking over his shoulder to the location of where Tylee Ryan was buried. You heard a phone call from that morning from Chad saying, "They're searching the property." You can hear the fear and guilty in both of their voices. They know what's about to happen. He means guilt, but that's okay. We get it. The dates and phone records were great intelligent placement to Lori, Chad, and Alex. Teresa says, "Hi, Madam August Butterfly. Lori was in search of a loin fire. I wonder if Chad ever did any embalming." Trishy 18 says, "Oh, I thought Chadster was an author," Madam August Butterfly says. Janae Ann, LOL, sure was a grifter. Money, money, money was what she was all about. Okay, let me go and see if there's another update. Okay. Wood shows the fire pit where Tylee was found. He shows an image of a chain and a jewelry charm found in the debris being worn by Tylee Ryan. You, and I'm sure he means saw satellite footage that same day of the disturbance in the ground. You saw how law enforcement found a dog and a cat in the ground. They found what they thought might be human bones, and they continued to dig, and this is what they found. This is what was left of Tylee Ryan, charred flesh, dismembered. An image of Tylee's remains are on the screen. Waiting for another update. Let me just check it out. Yet. Okay. Wood shows a chunk of concrete found in the ground sitting on top of Tylee's skull. He says they also found pieces of Tylee here in the shed. A photo of the shed is shown on the screen. We see a pickaxe that was taken to the Idaho State Lab, and there was Tylee's remains, and there was Tylee's DNA in the eye of the pickaxe. We see a photo of the shovel that was tested for DNA.
Oh, yeah, that's Washington Monument.
It was already in Washington.
Yep.
Very good. There was blood on the handle, and it matched to Tylee Ryan. He's at the Washington Monument. Luke's on a field trip to Washington, D.C. Okay. Okay, it's still. We see a pickaxe that was taken to the Idaho State Lab, and there was Tylee's DNA in the eye of the pickaxe. We see a photo of the shovel that was tested for DNA. There was blood on the handle, and it matched to Tylee Ryan. Okay, still waiting. Okay. Wood shows a photo of the grassy area where JJ's body was buried. We now see a photo of the rocks and boards that were lying on top of JJ. You heard the testimony of multiple officers about the smell emanating and how they found what was a human head. Look at this grave. This was prepared in advance. This was premeditated murder. You heard testimony that Lori Vallow handed JJ off to Alex Cox. Tylee, JJ, and Tammy can't tell us what happened, but their bodies do. Still waiting for another update here. Okay, we're still not getting any more on that yet. Still no new update. The last updates. Wood shows a photo of the grassy area where JJ's body was buried. We now see a photo of the rocks and boards that were lying on top of JJ. You heard the testimony of multiple officers about the smell emanating and how they found what was a human head. Look at this grave. This was prepared in advance. This was a premeditated murder. You heard testimony that Lori Vallow handed JJ off to Alex Cox. Tylee, JJ, and Tammy can't tell us what happened, but their bodies do. Wood now shows the images of Tylee's bones on the screen. He points to images and marks that show signs of stabbing. We now see a graphic photo of J.J. Vallow's body wrapped in tape. They did this to a boy with special needs. We now see Tammy's autopsy photo. There was nothing in her body that would have killed her. She had bruises on her arms that the medical examiner stated were consistent with being restrained. J.J. had bruises on his arms too. I'm checking for updates. I'll get into the chat while we wait. Okay, next is we talk about money, power, sex. Lori learned a lesson with Charles Vallow. She learned how to get money before the deaths. Within a week, she's already talking about the Social Security she's going to get. It was planned. We see a history timeline of when Tylee received Social Security money and when Lori switched accounts. Okay, then next we see a history timeline of when Tylee received Social Security money and when Lori switched their accounts. Okay. Wood says, get the money and then commit the murder. He says she made sure to make arrangements to get money before JJ's death as well. Wood explains the amount you need to fine for grand theft is $1,000. If you find Lori Vallow collected $1,000 that was not intended for her, you must find her guilty of grand theft. All right, let me get this. Let me update this. We now see a slide that says money, the benefits of murder. The next slide says power. It does not matter what they believed. It matters what they did. They can believe whatever they want. But when they use that to justify homicide, that changes. They used religion as a tool to manipulate others. Lori manipulated Alex Cox through religion. She manipulated Chad through emotional and sexual control. They manipulated their friends. Okay, let's check for an update. That's weird. Okay. Wood displays text messages showing the grooming of Alex Cox. Lori Vallow is telling Alex Cox what to do. You never see Alex tell her what to do. She is always telling him what to do. Wood references one message where Alex says, "My lips are sealed," and Lori responds, "Good boy." Alex's wife, Zulema, testified that Alex believed all of it. Wood says the only reason religion matters is because it's the tool they use to manipulate others. Who is the common thread here? Lori Vallow. Okay, I'm waiting. We now see a slide that says sex affair. Text messages are displayed on the screen about kissing for hours, being cheek to cheek. Lori uses sex to manipulate Chad, and Chad seeks confirmation from Lori repeatedly. I'll read that one again. We now see a slide that says sex affair. Text messages are displayed on the screen about kissing for hours, being cheek to cheek. Lori uses sex to manipulate Chad, and Chad seeks confirmation from Lori repeatedly. You know what's... yeah. Interesting. Just weird that some of the names here, huh? Revolve and this being. Okay. All right, here we go. The next slide says sex, obstacles to a future together. Wood points out that when Chad spoke about Tylee and JJ being close to death, their death numbers, Lori responded with, "That is sweet. I miss you desperately. There is no doubt she wants these children gone. She is encouraging their murder. She wants these children gone." Wood says, "This isn't fantasy. Those children were found dead in real life in Chad Daybell's backyard." Still waiting on an update. Okay. We now see a slide of text messages from Lori to Chad. After Charles was shot in the chest, Chad texts Lori, Tammy is close. JJ is at a 2. This was July 30th, 2019. On July 30th, she's already planning for JJ to go the same way as Charles, to be murdered. Hang on one second. I'm going to see what this is. Hi, Cynthia Speck. We're just waiting on the next update. Let me see something. No, this is another spam call. Hello? Hello? Oh, yes. Hold on one second. Do we have an appointment today? Yes. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Give me a second here, okay? And I will get on Zoom with you. All right. I'm sorry about that. I'm a little discombobulated from getting back from vacation. All right. I hang on. I'll be right there. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, I have an appointment, but it's on Zoom. So what I'm going to do is I will come back and open up a new live in about probably 45 minutes. I'll be done. And then we can continue this, and then we'll have more updates, or maybe even, they'll probably, I think they're going to break for lunch anyway soon. Let me just see what I have here. Extra. I was a little lost. I thought it was a spam call, and then I realized I had an appointment. Then the last update now is 41 seconds ago. The conversation goes into sexual text messages right after Chad and Lori were texting about the deaths of their spouses and kids. Lori asked Chad if JJ is at a 0 yet. She can't wait for JJ to die, Wood says. Okay, and I will be back as soon as I finish with this. And we will go over the rest of that, okay, guys? So please look, if you don't have all notifications on, please do that. And I will be back in a very short bit. Thank you so much, and sorry about that. Jimmy,
Yeah.
we have an appointment.